Hi there, wastrels and adventurers. I'm Caedo Genesis. This is the PIPCAST 3000, a supposed bi-weekly podcast where we talk about Fallout and gaming news and stuff. This is my co-host, Jared of Jarred Gaming.
Hi.
And Sarge is out for this week because he's recovering his voice, but he should be back probably, I hope, in a couple weeks after this. Bi-weekly, like I said, every Sunday, 10 a.m., we have a fun topic that we came up with on very short notice, which is the is Fallout 4 an RPG or not?
Ooh.
And it's going to be probably a pretty deep one for a while.
Yeah.
But first things first, we got a tip of the day. Jared, what is
Tip of the day, if you guys didn't know, the West Coast is in the midst of some fires, so smoke is a thing. COVID's still a thing, everything else is still a thing, but right now smoke is also a thing, so, stay indoors, keep your pets indoors, keep your kids indoors, try to get yourselves some N95 or P100 masks to filter out some of that smoke if it's really bad for you. I know that it's worse in some areas, but just be careful. Smoke is not something that we should breathe.
Yeah.
So the less of it we breathe, the better.
Wreak as little havoc on your lungs as possible if you're in affected areas, like with smoke cover and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I have been under smoke cover for I think like 3 or 4 days, maybe 5.
Yeah.
Because I live in the Portland area. One of the biggest fires in Oregon is southeast of Portland, like 20 miles. So, like, just stay as safe as you can. Like, we had an escape plan and stuff like that set up too, just in case. But
yeah, be prepared.
As of right now, we should be okay. I'm saying that, crossing my fingers, hoping that it's true.
Yes.
So
just be careful. Be safe.
Yes, we want you to be safe.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have the comment of the cast, which is a returning commenter because he's pretty active in the comment sections of my videos. This one's by Against All Odds. If you want a chance at being in the comment of the cast, make a comment about the topics we are speaking of in the PIPCAST, you might have a chance of being featured. Our last topic was plot devices and the best, or I would say the worst of, in the Fallout games. He said, I don't know if this is a plot device, but I can't stand how both Fallout 3 and New Vegas can't continue to play after the credits. I know 3 fixed that with Broken Steel, but for me, it seems like we either get a good long ending screen explaining how you change the world and no playing the game after, or a short ending screen and able to play the game after. As for what I've been up to, I've been playing Avengers Beta. That got me hyped for the game. That beta was really good. Okay.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah. I don't think there was any commas in there. Or punctuation. Thank you, Against All Odds, for that for that comment. Yeah, when you make a play after the game situation in any game, you have to write it into the world too to make it believable, which is probably why New Vegas didn't do it. Because they didn't have much time to develop anyway. As for Fallout 3, like, that was a while until the Broken Steel DLC came out, and that was a surprising level of extra world stuff, like the water caravans, regardless, after Project Purity would have, Brahmin drives all around the Wasteland and water stops and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's more just like once the core development of the game is done, I feel like it's probably they just want to be done. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I don't develop.
Do you think that with Broken Steel, excuse me, do you think with Broken Steel that they had planned to include, content after the ending? Do you think they had it planned beforehand, or that they implemented it because
they implemented it because fans were mad?
Okay. You don't think they were, maybe like that was a case of like early, how games now they release incomplete games as kind of like a thing. You think maybe back then that possibly that was the case and they always meant to? Or you think that it was just because people were pissed and they're like, crap, we gotta fix this quick?
these were the earlier days of DLC also.
Yeah.
When it wasn't more of an all-encompassing thing, it was more of a pseudo expansion, or an actual expansion just getting changed to another name because it was downloaded. So Fallout 3 came out in October 2008. Let's see, Broken Steel, and Broken Steel came out in May 5th, 2009. So maybe it might have been in the works. I don't know what the development cycle is for DLCs.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thought to think that maybe I would like to think that, if you're a developer, you've probably got a game plan, I hope.
Yeah.
I would hope that they had it planned and they weren't just responding to outrage. I would hope they had more
like
foresight. It was
one of the first DLCs too.
Yeah.
Which is surprising to me. I thought it was one of the last.
Gosh, it was so long ago. It feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking at the dates. just so I know. Yeah, the first one was Operation Anchorage on January 27th. March 25th for the Pit. May 5th for Broken Steel. Point Lookout, June 23rd. Mothership Zeta, August 3rd.
Okay, interesting. It almost feels like they ended it, then they went ahead with some of their other DLCs, and people were like, hello, what are you doing?
Yeah, maybe.
And they're like, oh crap, we gotta make sure that people aren't pissed.
There's a lot of spectacle in Broken Steel. I'm starting to change my mind. Like, after you asking about it, like, there's a lot of extra animations that went into Broken Steel, compared to everything else.
Does that?
I don't know.
Does that make you feel? Does it make you think more that it was always intended because of the extra
that it was
work?
intended a little bit longer after, or a little longer before release.
Okay.
Of the vanilla game, I think. But I don't know what kind of factors were in play at that time. It was so long ago.
Yeah. and we're not developers, so what do we know, really?
Yeah.
We can.
I was just an average gamer.
Yeah.
During 2009, average bum gamer.
Yeah. We didn't. Gosh, was YouTube even a thing in 2008?
Barely. Well, that's it for that, I think. Thank you, Against All Odds.
Thank you
for the comment of the cast. We used that pretty well as a jumping off point. So we have quite a few gaming news items. We're cutting the list short a little bit because we know there was some that Sarge wanted to talk about, and we're going to either hold on to those or just let go of them next time he's on.
Yeah.
So there's a couple about games that we've been playing. You and I have both played a couple of the new releases that we're going to be talking about. So we're going to start by talking about the big one, Wasteland 3. For anybody who doesn't know, In Exile is composed of former developers from Black Isle and Interplay, and Wasteland is the predecessor to Fallout. Wasteland 1 came out in 1988. Wasteland 2 came out in 2000. Wasteland 2 came out in 2014. Sorry, my bad. And then Director's Cut came out in 2015. So now we're accurate. But yeah, Wasteland 3 just came out. It's a lot more noob friendly, a lot more new player friendly, a lot more quality of life things that players of 2 and even the earliest number 1 wanted. It's not short on bugs either.
Of course, it's a new release.
I will also say that it's been on Game Pass, so if you have Game Pass, you have access to Wasteland 3. If you haven't tried it yet, I think you should, because it's on Game Pass. Like, just try it.
Yeah.
Just try it. You might like it.
Game Pass is like, what, $5 a month?
On PC, yes,
PC?
for now.
Yeah.
I think we should have added a topic where Game Pass is actually getting a price increase, but I don't have a source for that. I just kept hearing about it. But I think it might only be like up to $10.
That's still a pretty good deal, honestly.
Still reasonable for the service that we're getting.
Yeah. I actually just discovered Game Pass like a couple weeks ago. I feel so stupid. And it's like you get access to so much pretty cool stuff, and I'm like, I've been missing out on this resource for who knows how long.
Yeah. That's how I'm going to end up playing some of the probably some of the new Ubisoft games too, because I don't want to fork out money for those.
Yeah. It just makes so much more sense.
That would have been it. Man, that would have been a segue too if it wasn't so far down the list. Gosh dang it. But anyway, I have my own thoughts on Wasteland 3 because I have completed it. I've made 4 videos on it so far. It's a trip, for one. You won't, if you're used to playing RPGs with a dark tone, you might not be as surprised. But when I say dark, I mean like really dark, morbid humor type stuff. But that's kind of their part of their brand with the Wasteland series, and it works really well. The RPG mechanics are pretty tight. The modern talking heads that they did, which is like fully mocapped dialogue sections. How many did you go through when you were first playing the Dorsey at the very beginning, and then maybe the Patriarch?
I did not play much.
Oh, okay.
There's like at the very, very beginning, like when you're, I don't want to spoil anything, but I guess it's just intro stuff. But like the very first fight you're in, is part
the fight at the dam.
Where it's part of the tutorial, and then like you move along a little bit, and you talk. You got a choice to like let someone go or whatnot, and then they go and tell their friends about you. That battle.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't make it past that.
Oh. Okay. So you're about halfway through the tutorial.
Yeah. And I just don't know if I'm just really bad at games suddenly, or what. I've tried a couple times, and I just need to really like pay attention to what I'm doing. Maybe I'm trying to be too casual about it, and I'm just getting wrecked in the tutorial, and that when I get to doing that in a game, it really starts to annoy me a little bit. I'm just like, I shouldn't be getting wrecked in the tutorial.
Yeah, I get it.
So then I get discouraged, and I'm like, screw this, I'm uninstalling it, I'm never playing it again. And then I try it again later, and I'm like, it hasn't changed, I still suck. So yeah, I haven't really, I don't want to say I haven't really given it a chance, but I haven't really given it a chance.
Okay. Well, I have not done. Did you use any of the preset duos, or did you make your own characters?
Maybe that's my problem. I tried to create custom characters, and maybe I just don't know how to in this in this game yet. So maybe I need to try some preset characters and give that a shot. But no, I made my own because I really liked the idea of creating your own characters in this game, because like I was making some really weird and hilarious characters. Yes. I think
you could definitely do that in this game. My toaster repair expert that I recruited at the very end of the game, because you can add more recruits to your team once you have HQ.
Okay.
And you can either make them or grab more from presets. I made it like a really tiny person.
Yeah.
in a bear suit. with an LMG.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
And I think I had them maxed out with survival skill too, so it could reveal like everything on the map. But
See, I hear stuff like that, and it makes me want to go play it and actually figure it out, because it does sound like it's a lot of fun and everyone's having fun with it, and I feel like I'm being left out because I'm just bad at it.
Well, I mean, I did do 2 tips and tricks videos on it.
That's true.
I'm plugging it and then also offering to you.
Huh.
Maybe you could get something out of them.
Hey. That's some good advertisement. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're bad at games, check out Caedo Genesis. Tips and tricks videos for you and me. Get good.
With my help, you can get good too.
Heck yeah.
Pointing at the screen.
That's right.
Forced perspective. Yeah, but on top of the Wasteland 3 stuff and it being out and them like pushing out patches as much as they can, because co-op wasn't doing too terribly well at launch. That's what they've been patching the most, especially on consoles. Because some saves were even getting wiped, or like all saves were getting wiped for some people that were playing co-op, which really sucks.
Yeah.
But some extra information and some extra light on the subject was given through Brian Fargo, the head of In Exile, on the Dropped Frames podcast with JP, who else? Co-Carnage and somebody else. I can't even go back and watch it now because they're like subscribers only, so like I had to watch it while it was live. But what I can confirm from that, and also Brian Fargo tweeted it like a couple days after, is that we can expect DLC and obviously more patches for Wasteland 3.
Okay.
Something to do about the loading screens too, because like even on the podcast when they were interviewing him, they're just like, the loading screens are just so long, dude.
Right. This is 2020. This is 2020. We don't have time for long load screens.
45-second to a minute loading screens. Come on.
Dang.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's long. That's really long, especially if you're going through multiple zones in Wasteland 3,
and
it gets on you after a while.
I have to be honest, like even though I've only played a little bit of Wastelands 3, like it kind of felt. My initial opinion of it was it felt like a game that I would have expected to see 10 years ago. It feels like it's a game that they've been working on for a long time, and it feels like it was meant to come out before. Like, it doesn't feel like a game that you would see nowadays, at least from the cinematics, like the opening cutscene. I'm not trying to bash on the game, and this is just kind of like how I felt when I first saw it. I think it just didn't feel like a modern title, and maybe it's because it's a smaller team. It's not like a big studio. I don't know how big they are.
They got acquired by Microsoft about halfway through.
Oh, okay.
That could be part of it.
But I don't know. And long load screens, it's like that's a thing of the past, really. I mean,
yeah.
Even if you've got the game installed, like, on an SSD or something, you're still getting 45 seconds to minute load times. It's just like it just feels like the game was meant to be released sooner than it was, but it due to whatever development, it didn't. But now we've got it, and it's like, I'm sure they've tried to keep updating it as much as they could without changing everything, but it just felt like a game that I would have expected to see, maybe not 10 years ago, but just like before now. I don't know if that makes sense, but
well, the 10 years ago game looked way worse than this one.
Did it?
And I don't know what you're referring to when it comes to like how things look or how things feel like they're playing, but also you've only gotten halfway through the tutorial.
I know. I really have I've got no room to talk on it. That just was like my initial like feeling in the beginning, like cutscene. Like it I don't know. Don't listen to me. I'm ignorant.
the cutscene, there was some jank in some of the motions of the characters. I did notice that. Which made it felt like kind of like a almost like a tiny bit, only a tiny bit, like a Diablo 2 cutscene.
Okay.
Because the motion was just not quite human. But once it gets into the game and you're meeting up with those like face-to-face interactions with some of the main characters. Those are fully mocapped and actually pretty good.
Okay.
And look like they had the extra funding, it seems like, went into that, among many other things.
Okay. I am curious about co-op, though. Like, how does that work for a game like this where you essentially can, like, pause the game in real time?
You can't pause a game in real time.
You can't?
Not this one.
Well, I mean...
Combat's turn-based, but
it's turn-based.
There's no real-time pause.
But being turn-based, you could argue that it's kind of paused while you're taking your turn.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Have you played co-op?
I have not played co-op.
You haven't? Okay.
But I'm sure it works similarly or pretty close to what Divinity 2 does. Like you can be outside of combat and the other player can be in combat.
Okay.
Like, and you can just be wandering around the world talking to NPCs, tootling around town while the other player's getting their butt kicked by something.
All right. I was just curious.
So, like, most of it's modernized.
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely certain that Wasteland 3 took pages out of Divinity 2's book for ease of use for cooperative play.
Okay.
But yeah, so the interview confirmed that there's going to be DLC, so we're going to get more Wasteland 3. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know how many things I'm going to make videos on, to be honest, because there's still some things that are up in the air, and I hate being in this weird spot where it may be one of those games where everybody kind of forgets about it until DLC comes out. I don't want it to be so, but that just seems to happen sometimes.
Right.
And also, no sources of information are complete. I have to write all my own notes. None of the wikis have complete information.
Right.
Like, this is what the beginning of Fallout 4 was for a lot of us Fallout YouTubers. I mean, same with 76, really. It's just not fun. Because you take so much time confirming that something exists at a constant, especially if you're doing guides like I am on where to find things and stuff. Like, it's just so time consuming.
Yeah, I can imagine so.
Which is why I've made tips and tricks videos first. Because it's just like whatever comes to mind. There's a reason I put 10 plus in front, because I just make a list and whatever it is, as long as it's past 10, like, that's the list.
Nice. Yeah.
Welcome to Secret Tips and Tricks about tips and tricks.
I feel like that'd be extremely useful, considering my experience with the game. Like, if anyone out there has had the same experience as me, make sure you head on over to Caedo Genesis. Plug number 2.
Yes. The complaints led into a plug.
As they should. As they always should.
Gosh dang it, new games and not having enough information online. Okay. Well, we have another new game that has plenty of new game. New remaster. Yeah. That has plenty of information online because not much has changed.
Yes.
On that remaster. What do you feel about it, and what is it?
The game in question is Kingdoms of Amalur, the Re-Reckoning release of the game. Recently, the game was re-released as a remaster, and in my opinion, I use the word remaster very loosely because within the span of 30 minutes, I bought the game, downloaded it, and then requested a refund for it. Not because it was bad. If you've played Kingdoms of Amalur, it's a pretty sandbox RPG. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I put a lot of hours into the original, but I have to say that the word remastered is being used very loosely, in my opinion here. I think, and it's kind of like what we were talking about off the show. It's just like it didn't feel enough remastered to me. Like, they improved, some of the camera stuff, and maybe they've improved some of the resolution. But as far as, like, the game itself, I don't know. I expected more graphical improvements. I wanted it to look pretty. I wanted it to be like the Skyrim remaster from the original Skyrim, where, I mean, they had a lot of lighting effects and particle effects and really, textures and stuff. Nothing like that, though. Not that I could observe. It looked so similar to the original. I had to go and Google, like, a comparison just so I could see it side by side, and it looked so much like the original game. And that's nothing bad against the original game. Like I said, it was a lot of fun, but not enough for me to pay for it again, even though it was only... I think if you own the game already, it was half priced.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I got it for $20.
Yeah, I think mine was like 17 after taxes or something, so I don't know. Not a bad deal if you've never played it. If you've never played Kingdoms of Amalur and you enjoy those types of games, RPGs, open world RPGs and stuff, I would say give it a shot. It's definitely worth it. I would say even if you're not getting it at half price, if you're having to pay the full price if you've never played it, I would say it's worth it, personally. I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, Jared, let me tell you. I enjoy Kingdoms of Amalur, Reckoning, and Re-Reckoning, but one of the things that made the game for me, and it's really simple, you touched on it a little bit, is the camera options. Mm-hmm. There's a vertical camera option now, as well as an FOV slider. There's high resolution options for those of us with 1440p monitors, or even, I think it has 4K, but you don't want to do that because it like tanks the frame rate. Needs a little bit of optimization there, obviously. Yeah. But it performs fairly well, or just fine on my computer and on my displays. But having that vertical camera is my absolute favorite thing, because default camera is placed directly behind your character. You play some RPGs where it's like over the shoulder or at the torso or stuff like that. This is like right at the small of the character's back or their butt. Like
butt level.
That's where the camera rests when you're not in combat. And just like staying around looking at the world. You're not just there to admire your character's form. You're there to like admire the rest of Amalur too.
What?
So I know, right? So like for me, that's what made it for me, was being able to move the camera up just a little bit to put it at like the shoulders or the chest height, so I could see what I was running towards. Or the new difficulties, how the difficulties scale, and the enemy levels when you enter an area, refreshing each time you enter, and enemy levels being affected by the difficulty you're playing. Hard mode is much harder than it was in the classic one. And very hard mode, I'm not even going to touch that, because I would get angry.
We don't want to rage.
I want to continue enjoying the game, but for me, Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning has been fun, but like Jared said, it's not. I don't think it has had enough changes to it to warrant being called a remaster. But maybe they had to say something because they did make changes.
Right. It's a lack of a better word type of a situation.
They acquired the license. They revived it. Like, I'm cool with that too. Like, we all thought Kingdoms of Amalur was dead until THQ Nordic purchased the license. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. Who had it before? Do you know?
It was 38 Studios.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they were under EA, and they went bankrupt. Like shortly after the game.
Oh wow.
released.
Okay, I did not know that.
I think they went bankrupt. It was something losing a lot of money related.
That's too bad. Because it was a good game.
The state of Rhode Island paid for some of it.
What?
That's where they were. I know.
What?
Yeah. Because they also had some really big names. Todd McFarlane working on character design. R.A. Salvatore working on world building.
Wow.
Yeah, like like star-studded cast. There was one like memorable composer working on the soundtrack too, like a movie composer. I forget their name. Somebody can say in the comments if they come to mind or if they know. But yeah, like the whole project was great, but like they didn't, like one of the things they didn't consider was releasing near when Skyrim happened and how big that game was.
Right.
Or like what their competition was going to be. I hope they had enough thought to be like, well, Oblivion was really good, like, or really well was received, I should say. But maybe they didn't, because the head of 38 Studios or the director, was a baseball coach.
What? What in the
It
world?
was just a whole weird situation.
Holy moly.
That will never happen again, I don't think. But yeah, after so many years, THQ Nordic in their fashion snatched up the IP and re-released it, hopefully gauging interest. They are releasing a brand new DLC for the game.
Really?
Considering, yeah, you didn't know about that part?
No, I did not. Dadgummit.
Yeah, part of their release campaign was being like, Fatesworn is the DLC that's going to be coming for this game. It's going to be brand spanking new, and all the original DLCs are going to be included with the game.
Well, that kind of changes everything a little bit.
Yeah.
I might be going and buying it again.
Maybe you just needed context, like just talking about bringing things back from the dead and like, but like we don't know if the DLC was like just a half-baked project that they're finishing, or that it's just completely brand new. It's going to be a while until Fatesworn comes out, though, I think. So
maybe I'll wait for that to come out and see what it's about, because I'm sure the price of the game's not going to go up.
That's probably what I'm going to recommend, actually. It says it's going to add 5+ hours of stuff.
To be fair, 5+ hours in Kingdom of Amalur is not that much, but I'll still hold out for it. Well, I hope that, considering that it's been reacquired, I mean, it's a shame what happened to the original company. It's always a shame when you hear about stuff like that, but I'm hoping that with the reacquisition or the acquisition of the IP, THQ Nordic, they've got a fairly decent track record, don't they?
Yeah.
As a developer or a publisher?
Publisher. It was frick, man. I gotta dig up like who did the development side of the remaster too. They've done good work before.
Yeah. They've also done some not great work, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But I hope that, like you said, this is used to garner like attention back to the game, and maybe that means we'll get a sequel. I would love a sequel. Dude,
me too. I would love anything with co-op and or multiplayer.
Dude, that game with co-op would be freaking awesome.
That's what I was hoping for. That was my hope for this remaster, was being like, implement co-op just somehow. Like,
gosh, I think
that alone would make it a remaster.
Yeah,
that everybody wanted.
Oh yeah. I also think that probably would have taken them a lot more time to do. Because you would have to, I don't know. I'm not a developer, so I don't know, but I feel like that you would have to do some pretty intense change of the entire game to include co-op, because I don't think anything like that was ever originally implemented.
Yeah.
But co-op would be so cool.
It would.
It'd be so cool.
But yeah, so enough of Kingdoms of Amalur. Let's talk about something else.
You know what else is really cool, Caedo?
What is it, Jared?
The game Hades. Which I know nothing about, but go for it, dude.
When you're right, you're right. So Hades finally got its 1.0 release. This was more than a couple weeks back, because we skipped an episode because none of us were in a position to want to record. but they outsourced their launch trailer and had somebody animate it for them. And this is one of the most direct trailers for a game. I'm not just being a fanboy, by the way. This is one of the most direct trailers that actually show you what the frick the game's about.
Nice.
An anime, almost anime Zagreus fighting the Lernian Hydra, getting killed. Oh, also summoning a boon from Zeus, getting killed, and then showing back up in the House of Hades to try again, because it's a roguelike game. You try to escape. And then it shows gameplay. Like how the game actually goes.
What?
Yeah, and some of the interactions with the different characters and romance. Possibly a romance thing? Or just talking crap. Could be talking crap.
Is this game not out yet?
It just hit its 1.0, so yes.
Okay.
It was in early access for the past year or
Gotcha. I've not played it, so I'm completely in the I don't know nothing about this.
Greek mythology, you are the son of Hades, you're trying to leave.
Oh, cool.
That's the premise. But like all of the characters, think like a Mass Effect depth to each of the characters, and getting to know them, learning how to interact with them, building relationship. Even some of the people you kill, like, end up becoming romantic options for one of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Death is temporary in this, so like.
Well, it is Hades, so.
Because you all live in the other world.
Interesting.
Like, and you're all gods, kind of. So, it's really cool. I've put a lot of hours into it, and I'm going to put many more once everything else slows down.
Right.
Because it's just generally a fun game.
I feel like we've talked about this game before, and even then I think you sold me on the idea like you're doing right now. All the things you just said, like, those are all great things. I love
it's art, man. The whole game is art. Somebody tells you games aren't an art form, just shove Hades in their face. Like, look at this, it's art.
It's beautiful. Love it.
Listen to it. Just listen to it.
Does it have a good soundtrack?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. It seems like a game that would have an excellent soundtrack.
Yeah, it does.
Is it kind of like a hack and slash? Like, how's it play? Like, is it turn based? I can't. It's hard to tell.
It's a
just
hack
from
and slash, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful.
It's also got guns, so like.
Greek mythology and guns.
It's got a gun.
Oh, okay. I was like, excuse me? This sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, creators of Bastion, Transistor. Okay. I thought it looked familiar.
Gen Z, their lead artist, has been with them since like the beginning, so her art style is very recognizable too.
Interesting. You want to know what else is really interesting? I just bought it. Told you,
nice.
Man. Like, you sold me on it before, and I must have forgot about it. But now we're talking about it again, and it really does seem really cool. And I've been in one of those mood situations where it's like, I don't really know what I want to play something. I don't know what I want to play, so I've been trying a bunch of different stuff. So maybe this is it. This is the one.
Just remember, part of the game is you're supposed to lose.
Right, roguelike.
Yeah.
I
need to tell everybody that beforehand.
I get that concept if it's made known.
Yeah.
If I'm dying over and over again and it's not a roguelike, Wasteland 3, then I get really I'm just again I gotta give Wasteland 3 more of a chance, but yeah. I'm very familiar with roguelike, and I do enjoy them.
Good.
There's something about the expectation of dying that makes dying more bearable.
Yeah. Well, they kind of build systems around it too. Like, it has its own progression for like increasing health, increasing the amount of dashes you have, and all kinds of other stuff. Like as you progress and get more darkness is one of the currencies.
Nice. Is it RPG? Would you call it an RPG?
It has
like
a lot
leveling
of RPG
up
mechanics.
And stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you level up the weapons. change a lot of your stats when you approach a run. You can give yourself more penalties per run for better rewards, that kind of stuff.
Cool stuff.
Yeah. So on top of Hades getting its 1.0, NoClip, the amazing documentary channel that does a lot of video game documentaries, put out another one of the Hades developers, quarantine development, like get a look into what it's like to develop games while you're social distancing, kind of thing. And it's very interesting how, for them, it may have been a little bit of an easier transition than other developers because they're a much smaller studio, but they still had their own struggles, and it goes over that. And also they got broken into and had like a lot of their instruments stolen, but surprisingly their computers weren't. It was very, very strange, like Impulse. It's a real bummer, like especially seeing, developers that are in development of something, but I don't know when they're not, honestly. And having something like that on top of dealing with, all the things that are going on in the world right now.
Right.
Like that on top of it is not great. But they still managed to, work through it. Not a whole lot of, stuff that couldn't be replaced. Like, the people that work there, like they were definitely thinking about that side of it. Like, we're irreplaceable. Like, equipment that can be replaced.
Right.
So, they had a very, I don't know how to describe it. Forward-thinking, really relaxed.
Right, like
this is well after the fact, I'm sure, but
it sucks that it happened, but it could have been a lot worse, kind of a mentality.
Yeah, easygoing approach to it.
That's good.
Which, that just grew my respect for them more, to be honest.
Right on.
But yeah, try Hades.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
or something. That's for everybody else too. If you like roguelike games and you haven't heard me talk about it all the time, freaking do it. Like. It's at its 1.0. You don't have an excuse now if you're waiting it to be out of early access, even though it felt like a finished game in early access.
That's a good sign when a game in early access feels complete.
Yeah,
that's refreshing.
Mm-hmm. Something that wasn't so refreshing. Burger King went on Twitch to donate to popular streamers just to advertise with the sentence that they get when they donate to a streamer, to promote like their menu items.
Boo.
which is horrible. I worded that very poorly, but basically Burger King was non-contractually advertising on Twitch streamers' live streams without their knowledge or
under the guise of donation
or permission. Yeah.
Which is just like
messed up. All these things are linked below if you want to rage about it too, by the way. But I decided to leave this one in, even though it was a few weeks ago, because I think that people need to be aware of this kind of bullcrap that happens.
Yeah.
And I don't like the idea of tweeting at someone, like a person, on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're trying to single them out or whatever. I'd rather just do that in like PMs because I have a conversation with people. But when it's a corporation doing this kind of crap, I will absolutely go on Twitter and be like, what are you doing?
Right.
Because that's messed up. This is just
don't do it.
Just don't do that. Don't do that, Burger King.
Yeah,
McDonald's.
I guarantee you that is streamers, they don't care where donations come from, and most of them are pretty grateful. But it's like it's the principle of the thing. Like, it could be any company. It doesn't have to be Burger King. If any company or even an individual did something like this, he would just be like, dude, don't do that. It's like if I went over to one of Caedo Genesis awesome tips and tricks videos that you can watch right now. And I leave a comment,
Nice.
But instead of a comment, I leave a link to my own YouTube channel, Jarred Gaming.
Yeah.
It's like if I went and if people do that, and it's looked down upon, I think, in the community, like advertising your own crap, but you're just like, you're leaving it as a comment for someone else's stuff, but you're like, that's just, it doesn't matter if you're a corporation or if you're Joe Schmo in his basement trying to promote his, crochet slippers. Doesn't matter what the reason is. It's just crappy. It's just crappy.
Schmo slippers.
Schmo slippers. They're crocheted so that you can slide on the kitchen floor silently to the refrigerator at midnight. Anyways.
Oh my god.
That is not a side project of mine at all.
Schmo slippers.
Schmo slippers.
Schmo's having a little bit of the shosh too.
Of course. We're living in Grandma's basement.
Yeah. So, for anybody who didn't know, like, Jared, I'm pretty sure you've gone to like r/NewTubers or r/YouTubers or r/.
I mean, I've been.
There's a lot of them.
I've not done stuff like that on like Reddit, but I've.
But you've seen like rules of thumb, like don't self-promote in.
Oh yeah,
in somebody else's.
But I didn't get that from anywhere. I just know that because I'm a decent human being. Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. So that's the direction I was going with this.
Okay.
But that's like one of the regular tips things, because sometimes there's somebody who's like, here's a list of things that I figured out or learned over time, and it's usually stuff that other people have learned already. It's just them figuring it out on their own, which I'm all for as long as you're learning.
Yeah.
But that's something I really wanted to hammer home and talk about as well, that it's really important not to like step on somebody else's toes to promote, and also just on the YouTube side, like you end up getting filtered out as spam if you post links.
Yep.
Like that's just normal. Just as a heads up, if you post links on YouTube, you're probably going to end up in a spam folder
and then deleted.
Yep.
Because we have the power.
That's why you see the bots with like those really. I'm not telling you to do this, by the way. That's why you see the bots with those weird spacings in the links that they're posting, because they're trying not to be in the spam filter.
Right.
So.
And most of the time, your followers are going to be like, "Hey, if you didn't notice, I'm pretty sure that's a bot." I had someone do that recently because I've been getting comments from like bots. Have you? Yeah. And it's comments. It'll be like, "Wow, I love you," or something, and then like a bunch of little emojis, and so that hasn't been coming up as spam or anything for me. It's just it's a freaking comment. They're not asking.
About 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. Well, it was nice because someone in my comments was like, "Hey, I think this is this, and you might want to get rid of it." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, I appreciate that," and I promptly got rid of it. And I've been on the lookout ever since. So it's if it doesn't get flagged, it's nice if your community is looking out for you as well.
Right.
And I'm sure you've got that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to spot it pretty easily for all the other spam bots that tend to show up sometimes. These ones have just been more aggressive than usual. Yeah. So it's I don't know. To me, it's just kind of normal.
Yeah, I mean it is. It's just one of those things. It's just like you're saying, like with you just don't do that. Yeah. Whether you're a bot or a person or a corporation like Burger King, who should know better, because they're not new to the game. No. Burger King's been around for how long? Well, forever. They're one of the original. Yeah, it annoys me. It's disrespectful. That's how I see this. You see Burger King is a huge company that's been around for a long time, and they know what they're doing. They know what to do, and they know what not to do. And they blatantly do something that they know and everyone knows you're not supposed to do. That's just a blatant disrespect for the creator that they're advertising on.
Yep.
And that is shameful.
Yep. It sure is. You know what else is shameful? Oh wait, no, we're gonna skip that topic.
Okay. It's like, wait a minute. That's not where we're going next, though. What's happening?
You know what else is shameful? This outline that I wrote. We were gonna talk about one of the other games that's coming up.
It is one of the more
access.
colorful outlines I've seen.
Yeah. Did you want to say something about it first?
Sure. The opposite of shameful could be Baldur's Gate 3. That's like the worst segue. I couldn't think of anything. Okay, Baldur's Gate 3 developer update number 6. Not shameful because it's Baldur's Gate, and Baldur's Gate is gonna be awesome.
And Larian Studios, and they're a bunch of goofballs.
And that's always good, actually. I think in a developers, be goofy, have fun with what you're doing.
The head of the studio, Swen, did a full live stream in a full suit of armor in front of a table with a feast on it.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was one of the recent live stream interview type things. They go way over the top.
I love this. Like I haven't watched the video that you linked for this, but this guy is sitting here with a battle axe in his hand. I love when the developers are not just people making a game because they're told to, but these guys are actually nerds making a game for nerds. And I think that's great. I love it.
Yeah. They're not ashamed in the least.
They're not afraid to be nerdy. It's cool to be nerd now, guys, in case you didn't know.
It is. Yeah. It's not 2007 anymore.
Yeah.
Being a nerd is cool.
Yeah.
I don't know when it was uncool.
I probably well before that, but
when those nerds are sexy shirts started coming out.
Oh gosh.
Which are stupid, by the way. I want to make that clear. How I feel about nerds are sexy shirts.
How do you feel about that?
But anyway, in this developer update, Larian Studios was talking about integrating Twitch and live stream services with their decision making in Baldur's Gate 3, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So, kind of like when Borderlands 3 came out, how Gearbox had that Twitch plugin for the more you donate, it determines loot, or you can buff enemies that the players are fighting and stuff like that. It's going to be something along those lines, except with making decisions and stuff like that, because there's going to be a lot of decisions to make in Baldur's Gate 3 about life and death type stuff, or just things that don't really, hold too much weight but are funny.
Mm-hmm. Right. I wish that I wish that I had watched it, that I could be more. Because I am actually, so I'm really looking forward to Baldur's Gate. I actually started playing a little bit of Divinity 2.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to buy it for a long time because they worked on that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
That's their last big one.
Okay, good. I was making sure I had my facts right because I'm stupid sometimes and don't know things. So I was actually super impressed with Divinity 2, just on a mechanics standpoint, not like I work on cars, not like that, like a game mechanics standpoint. I thought it was really freaking cool. You could just for example, going in the water makes you wet and then somewhat resistant to fire but more susceptible to lightning. I was like, that's brilliant. I love that. You don't see that in games. Normally
actually, this might blow your mind. They toned down the amount of elemental effectiveness and effects from the first game because it had the habit of slowing down things.
Really?
Like hardware.
Oh damn. I love that attention to detail though.
Yeah. They have their things in their games for sure. And that is one of my favorites too. There's also the teleport spell is one of the most important spells in the game, if not the most important.
Is it?
Just as a heads up.
Okay. I don't know if I should be worried or...
Your game will be much easier if you have teleport.
Okay. Is that like a scroll? Is it like Diablo?
It's an Aerothurge spell. So you can, if you've put points into Aerothurge, you can learn it. I think it's like Aerothurge 3 or something. But in Fort Joy, the beginning island, I'm getting really into the topic, by the way. You can get there's a side quest where you can get a set of gloves that has it, and you can just cast it with the gloves.
Okay. Have you done videos on this game?
I have not. This has been the entirety of my Divinity 2 plays have been with friends, just playing and enjoying it.
Fair enough.
It is, even though I've played through the game at least twice now, I still don't want to make videos on it.
Totally understand. Totally understand.
It's so much world, and I don't know if I jive with the world completely. I think that might be part of it. It's fun to play. Like, it's really fun to play, but the world I'm just not invested in much.
Fair enough.
Much.
I've only just started playing, and I never played the first. I mean, actually that's not true. I played the first one a little bit. At the time, I just wasn't looking for that type of game, so I never went back to it. There was something about the second one that always made me want to get it, and eventually I just did. And I've only played a little bit of that too. I just don't have time to play anything at length these days, unfortunately. So most of my game is like, oh, I've played a little bit of that, but that's about it. But so far I've really enjoyed it. It's different. It's different than what you're normally used to for like that sort of setting.
It's dark.
Yeah.
It's pretty dark.
but I like it. I like different. Like it. The typical high fantasy tropes get a little old after a while, as much as they are fun. So it's nice to see different twists on those typical ideas.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I agree.
Cool developer making cool games. I like it.
Yes.
Speaking of really cool games.
Well, uncool developer, uninspired game. I'm gonna flip that entirely. Ubisoft on their preview show, whatever that is. I don't know what it's called. I just saw the trailers for and the gameplay. Immortals Fenix Rising is a new Ubisoft IP that is an action RPG ? With a very colorized cartoony cell shady graphic style. I watched the gameplay. We have all the stuff linked below. I don't know if I've already said that before. It looks, I just gotta say, generic. Like,
yeah,
there's nothing that sets it apart from anything else. Like, when you see the flying mechanics, Breath of the Wild. When you see the combat, you're like, well, obviously I've been playing Kings of Amalur lately, so that's both the color palette and the combat that are both, look like they go together.
Right.
Greek mythology theme, God of War, Hades, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, another Ubisoft IP that happened in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, all of these things that you would want to get out of this game, I can almost guarantee you that you'll get better out of a game that does it well. And also, I'm not going to suggest Assassin's Creed Odyssey, even though I played it all the way through.
I kind of liked it.
Yeah, I liked some of it, but I kept comparing it to things that did things better.
Gotcha.
Like, that's like how I envision Ubisoft at this point. Which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it is, because they used to be one of my favorite companies.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. The Game Grumps got a brand deal with Ubisoft, and if Aaron's struggling to come up with things to say about the game,
even though they're paying them to do so,
even though they're being paid to do so, and Aaron talks a lot and is very good at improv, if they're having trouble with describing what's happening in the game, there may be something. And I
imagine
to
they
worry about.
I imagine they've played it if they are in that deal with them, so they got more perspective on it than we do, and they're still having a hard time.
It was actually post commentary too. Like it was Aaron's gameplay, and they were commentating over it.
Gotcha.
So like there was nothing distracting Aaron, and he was still having trouble. Anybody who does commentary will understand. Like if you're doing post commentary, and we're with somebody else, it's super easy.
Way easier
if you're into the topic. But
yeah,
it didn't seem like it was coming to him.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just like we were just saying. It's like Ubisoft's just become a crank it out studio.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you, like I've talked about this elsewhere and maybe even here. It's just like I feel like these big studios are just, they're gonna be a thing of the past, because I think people are starting to wise up to the cookie cutter crank out game style, and people just don't like them. They're done with it.
Yeah, they keep playing it safe too much.
Yeah,
and it just ends up being a boring game.
and I'll tell you that's why that's why on my channel I do like indie games. I'll tell you, some of the stuff that I've played is freaking amazing. Like just some of the ideas that get implemented in that scene that you would never see in mainstream. I'm telling you, that's where the creativity is, and you see it in some of the smaller developers, because I think they still hold on to some of that indie roots, like some of the games we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're still small enough. I think it just feels like sometimes some of these companies, they get to be so big, they start losing sight. Maybe that's just natural process of things. I don't know. Yeah. It's just, it's really sad, because like Ubisoft, I used to really like the stuff that they did. There was a time when I used to say that Ubisoft could not make a bad game. That's how much I liked their games. But now it's just like this. It's just like, oh, pass. It's just pass. Like it. Yeah. I don't know.
And I want to try to give it some credit, because maybe there's something that the developers were holding back when they're showing like the early access look at something, or like I think this was like a pre-alpha build or incomplete. It's an incomplete game,
right?
That they were showing to people, but it also releases in like a month or two. How much can they fix it in a month or two? Yeah, or like what can they do like to make it more interesting than it looks right now? And I mean, I don't have any. Again, we're not developers. I don't have any idea what they can do.
Right.
I'm just, again, we're speaking from just gamer standpoint. It looks like a whole bunch of other games just mashed together.
Yeah.
All of which do those things better.
Exactly.
You should tell us what you think in the comments. Just watch a little bit of the Phoenix Rising, Immortals Phoenix Rising gameplay, and tell me what you think in the comments, because I want to see, are we seeing the same thing? Am I seeing just Breath of the Wild with wings instead of a glider? Like, yeah, or am I missing a crucial thing about it? I could just be jaded. Like, I'm not in the best position in real life right now, because like there's smoke cover and stuff like that, so that could be affecting me too.
Right.
Also my shoulder has been hurting too again, so there's also that. Tendonitis sucks. Okay.
Yes, it does. I think your observations are just, but it will be interesting to see what other people think as well, if they are seeing the same thing, because I agree with you like 100% on what we're seeing. Breath of the Wild, Assassin's Creed, Odyssey, Kingdoms of Amalur are all just like a mix mash. I agree with that. So that's all.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, we got through the news.
Woo!
That took us up to an hour. That's
crap.
Surprising and good. Good job, Jared.
Yay!
Way to keep the ball rolling.
Woohoo!
And we had a Fallout topic today. The is Fallout 4 an RPG or not? This might be a deep one. This might be a shallow one. This was like right before recording, so I was just like, what's gonna be good clickbait? Or more along the lines of what will make a good title or a good discussion. And I've seen this as a discussion in the Fallout subreddits and stuff like that. Like one of the big arguments for Fallout 4 not being a true Fallout game was that it doesn't have the RPG elements of the previous games.
Okay.
Some of the RPG elements of the previous games. And that would be primarily a skill-based system, as well as, I would say, probably the dialogue. The dialogue is a lot more simplified.
Yeah, that's for sure.
We've talked about dialogue in Fallout 4 so many times. But because it has also voiced protagonists, that's one RPG element that's integrated into the game as opposed to missing.
Right.
But it also depends on what kind of RPG you're playing. Because Mass Effect is still an RPG. You're role-playing Commander Shepard. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that's way more narrative heavy, and you're following the story of one character. The Witcher 3, same deal. Kind of. You're following the story of Geralt, and you're making decisions based on what you think his character would do. And I think those are RPG related. The Nate and Nora story, though, in Fallout 4, that one's still up in the air for me, because I don't think there's enough of a trail to follow, or it's too easy to diverge. I think there's not much constant reminder, oh, I gotta look for Sean, kind of thing. I don't think that connection was really made throughout playing Fallout 4. So, I know that it had potential with the voice protagonist, but because of the general, I don't know, because of the open worldness and how Bethesda designs their worlds around more exploration type stuff, it didn't really help the character, if that makes sense. I may just be saying words.
We're all just saying words.
I'm losing it as I'm going.
Well, it's kind of a weird it's a weird topic with many different possibilities. I think it might be helpful if we examine what is a role-playing game. An RPG is just abbreviation for role-playing game. Typically, that would assume that you are assuming the role of another character and playing out that character through, the story and whatnot. If you take that, and this is literally the Wikipedia definition of role-playing game.
Yeah, I'm looking at it too.
I think if you go by the base, just wiki description, whatever, then I think Fallout 4 has to be an RPG.
Yeah.
Because, and like you said, actually, I think is the very good point, is you in Fallout 4, you are actually playing a voiced protagonist. So you're more taking on the role of another character, because you don't get to...
I did want to mention, though, that it's one of the weaker voice protagonists because of how the world is designed.
Right. Or she. He or she, because you can be one or the other. Yeah. But yeah, I think if you just examine it from a very, very base RPG, I mean, there are different levels of RPG, there are different types of RPGs, but role-playing game, you're taking the role, you do that with Fallout 4, I think that, in my opinion, I think Fallout 4 you could call an RPG, because what we talked about, again, off the show, Legend of Zelda's always been described as an RPG. But it has none of the aspects that you normally think of when you think of RPG. There's no leveling up. There's no allocation of ability points and skill points and stuff like that, which I think a lot of people associate. But that's not the only thing that makes an RPG an RPG. Those are just aspects that make up an RPG. But I think if you just take the base word role-playing game, I think it's safe and easy to say that there are more RPGs out there than maybe people first thought.
Maybe. It depends on how tight or loose we want to use the definition. I personally, I'm gonna be Sarge for a minute. I personally would not consider most of Zelda games to be RPGs, except for maybe Breath of the Wild, getting closer to that.
How dare you?
Open world exploration, being allowed to do most things in any order type thing. Because a lot of the times, like the older Zelda games, like my point of reference is Link's Awakening, the original one, not the remake, is that you had to have certain things to get past other things.
Right.
And it was, you did have a little wiggle room, but it was still kind of linear in what you needed and what you needed to surpass.
Even the later games are like that.
Extra hearts in between, like kind of thing. Yeah, I think it's more now an RPG than it was then. I think it's more, as some other people were saying, just glancing at other posts about it, because it is a topic. An action game or action adventure game,
right,
with RPG elements.
Okay. I've heard that before as well.
Which can be used as an argument for Fallout 4 as well. Be like, oh, it's a shooter with RPG elements. Like, people could use that argument.
True.
And do, probably.
I'm sure I've defined it as that at some point, trying to explain it to someone who maybe didn't know what it was. I mean, there's not that many people who don't know what it is at this point, but at some point there were people who didn't know what Fallout was, and I'd be like, yeah, it's like, or it's like Skyrim with guns, you know, or it's an RPG with guns. You know, I've definitely described it, and not just Fallout, any RPG with guns. Honestly, at some point I think it's defined as an RPG with guns. The either physical manifestation or the in the background manifestation of rolling dice to determine whether or not an action is successful or not. I mean, all the way back to the old D&D Dungeons and Dragon games, to modern RPGs like Fallout or Mass Effect, or whatever. There's, in some form or another, a roll of a dice, whether it's a physical dice or digital, in the background to determine those things. So to me, that's what I think of when I think of an RPG. Is that aspect in the game somehow. I tend to, even though I've only recently got into the actual playing of D&D, I've always attributed an RPG to having those aspects, even before ever even playing and knowing much about it. It's like, if I'm leveling up, if I'm having to roll, because my abilities determine those rolls, even if I'm not seeing those rolls happen. So in a way, like, even though role-playing game typically stands for like taking on the role, I've always attributed the role to be spelled ROLL, as in the roll of the dice as well. Those always went hand in hand. Yeah. Just why not? Like, I agree with you, actually. Even though you're
hand to table.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even though you're channeling Sarge, I agree that Legend of Zelda. Honestly, even Breath of the Wild, I wouldn't consider a typical RPG. The only elements of RPG is you're playing a character, taking on the role of a character.
Right.
But as far as Fallout 4 is concerned, I personally say yes. I say just to be on topic, like, is it or isn't it? I say I personally think it is.
Yeah.
Because to me it falls into all those categories. You're playing another character in a story, and that story is the game, and you do acquire experience points. That's another thing, is experience points or experience in a game. To me, is just like a hallmark trope of RPGs, and that's there. So all the signs are there. So I think it is.
I think by discussing it, we've also proven that everybody kind of can have their own interpretation of what role-playing games are and mean. But also, you can say Fallout 4 is not RPG enough for me.
Right.
Between Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, of course, they streamlined a whole bunch of systems, including like turning skills and perks into one like universal system when you level up. which lets you, when you level up, either put points in your attributes or your perks. And like that's an incredibly simplified system, which I kind of like still. But there's also some issues that come along with that I still get kind of annoyed by, which are the fact that they were in rows underneath those attributes, and you had to build those attributes up to get some of those skills. And if you're trying to do a particular build, like, I don't know, melee explosives, not easy in Fallout 4 because you have to build in perception as well to get your explosive perks. That's I go back and use that as an example of my frustration. I had my own frustrations with Fallout 4, plenty, among many other Fallout YouTubers that I complained at, and we complained at each other, and it was fun. But we also put a crap ton of hours into it, not just because we were making videos on it. Maybe Camelworks, can't speak for him, but he turns on God mode immediately when he fires up the game most of the time. He's admitted that to me. But I think, like, going from Fallout 3 to Fallout 4, there's some things that aren't as recognizable to players that wanted more Fallout 3. Like, as much as I don't like saying it, the new gunplay, like, for so many people, turned it into a shooter for people, despite it just being way, way, way better mechanically. Like, they were just like, well, this is now a shooter kind of thing. And then just, like, throwing aside all the things that could make it an RPG. Just be like, nah, it's a shooter. That happens to be in a burnt world. And that's mainly thank you to id Software, by the way, for actually helping Bethesda in making their shooting mechanics better. Because could you imagine, like, the shooting mechanics of Fallout 3 and New Vegas to end up in Fallout 4? Like, that would be horrible. That would be so bad.
Yeah, no, it was always one of the things I really it's one of the things I actually really enjoyed actually about Fallout 4. It's one of the reasons why, honestly, if I play Fallout, I typically am playing Fallout 4. There's definitely something to be said about whether or not it is losing or gaining those RPG elements, but there's something also to be said about the, like you said, the playability. You know, just it's easier to pick up and just play it because it's a more smoother, streamlined version. And I'm not big into shooters anymore. I used to be, a Call of Duty person, or I said duty. But those kind of games, I'm just kind of like, it's kind of like we were talking before. They're also another, like, cookie cutter crank out type of genre at this point. So Fallout 4 kind of gives you the playability of the shooters, but it still has aspects of the complexities that make an RPG great, just enough,
Yeah,
I think
I was gonna say, sorry.
No, go on. Off. No, you're fine.
I wanted to bring up the VATS system as a improvement on something that wouldn't go from one perspective to another. Imagine trying. Well, you can actually imagine it. You know Morrowind? You know how jank its combat is with the dice rolling?
Oh, I do.
Person? Okay, so a lot of people will defend Morrowind as being an amazing game.
It is.
But I am afraid to go back to Morrowind just because of its combat system, and if your stats aren't high enough, even though you're swinging your sword directly in front of your face, you're not going to hit your target if your attributes and skills don't meet what they need to.
Yep.
And they took... Okay, so from the classic Fallout games over into Fallout 3, they couldn't do it turn-based in first person if they wanted to keep that perspective and do what Bethesda does well. Like, they know what their strengths are, so they played to those when they made Fallout 3. So their solution, I'm sure there was many iterations, but they were like, let's do something like a slowdown mode that costs AP, you know, and we can use targeted shots like you would in the classic games. And then, of course, that was improved upon a little bit more by just doing a slowdown in Fallout 4.
Yeah.
And still relying on your, not your skills this time, but your perks, and I think some of your attributes.
I'm sure it all ties in.
It all ties in. But there is some RPG elements that we want that don't go really from one perspective, or I want to say almost genre, to another, because it would just be so rough.
Right.
I don't know what other word to use. So dramatically challenging to make it feel right.
No.
Like maybe super hot comes to mind for like being as close to a turn-based type thing, because what you're doing in super hot is motion is what causes things to causes time to move forward. So that's what makes super hot so appealing for a lot of people, is because you're strategizing still, like how you're going to move and stuff like that. I've yet to play it in VR, but it looks a lot of fun.
It's amazing.
Have you played it?
It's a workout, dude.
Oh, nice.
It's like it is like you're the Matrix, because you're dodging bullets like by moving, and it's freaking amazing.
That's awesome. But I wanted. I don't know what point I was trying to make there.
That's why I didn't want to say anything about Super Hot, because I didn't want to distract you.
It's that games will change. The definition of RPG will change from developer to developer too.
Totally.
Not just from users. And I think that wanting some like archaic mechanics to come back to a game like Fallout, I don't know how much you should expect.
Yeah.
Because like people want accessibility. Like also businesses and corporations want accessibility, because that means more money. Like there's this huge want for like making things accessible and also making them fun. Like, man, it's just it's a balancing act. I can't really wrap my brain around it completely. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, I think there's a fine line between, I think, developers making games for the fans and developers making games for everybody.
Yeah.
And there's more money to be made in making games for everybody and not just to the fan base. I mean, pleasing the fan base should always be somewhat of a priority, because I mean they're the people that love it and are passionate about it. But I think if you take, like, you know, let's just use numbers because I don't know them. If you've got 1,000 people that are super passionate about it and you make a game for those 1,000 people, cool, that's 1,000 people. But if you make a game for everybody and that's 1,000,000 people, it's like, great, those 1,000, that was cool, but we're a company trying to make money. Let's get the 1,000,000. You know, from a business standpoint, it just makes more sense.
But that also detracts from whether Fallout 4 is an RPG or not.
Absolutely. It absolutely does. You know, that's just kind of the truth of things, though, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think it still does pretty easily fall into the RPG genre, as we know RPGs that are modern. I say modern, like the newest we have is Fallout 76. I don't want to talk about that one too much, except that I do like the perk card system way more than the perk system in Fallout 4.
Interesting. I always found it to be very off-putting.
Oh, I like it more because you not only get to unlock, you get perk card packs every 5 levels to potentially show you perks that you might want to use. And you also can add to attributes. Well, they made attribute pools higher, so you can slot things into the attributes you want to use the most. And you also can't do everything. So that, in essence, makes it more of an RPG, I think. Oh man,
okay.
this is turning into a hot take. Fallout 76 might be more RPG than Fallout 4, simply because of the perk card system, which almost forces an archetype, or forces you to choose an archetype by the time you hit level 50. You can swap cards around. There will be a respec system at some point. I'm not sure when. I wish Sarge was here to shed light on that, because he's a 76 guy.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, it's a lot easier to make an explosives melee guy.
I was just gonna ask you if it was easier.
I was gonna circle back. Yeah, yeah, it is a lot easier.
Awesome.
If you have a build you want to go for, and there's even like, try the perk calculators between the two games. There's many you can find. Nukes Dragons is one of the good sites for that. See how it feels. If you haven't played 76 at all, like try seeing what you can do with the character builder, compared to what you would do in Fallout 4. Like just check.
Do it.
Make it a fun little afternoon activity or something. I won't speak for the rest of 76 though. That's all up in the air. There's many things I do not like about 76, but there's some things that keep me coming back, like playing with friends. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Especially in these kinds of times, you need to have as much things to do with friends as possible. I know later today, Nelsar invited me to finish up the Hellraid DLC for Dying Light, so we might do that.
Nice.
I'm into it. I'm into playing games with friends.
Totally. And yeah, like you said, nowadays especially important.
I kind of left the Fallout 4 topic too, but yeah, keep going.
That's all right. I think we've pretty much nailed down the topic.
I'd say it was about a half hour. We're going actually the normal duration. So in the comments, I'm sure you have something to say in the comments. We want to hear what you have to say about whether or not you think Fallout 4 is an RPG and what makes an RPG. I want to extend that a little bit to be like, what is your definition of an RPG? Because like we said, it's really loose. The reason why the opinions are so great is probably because of the looseness and different definition that people have for it. Also, Fallout fans, like, we are an opinionated bunch. Got nothing else to say about that.
No.
So we'll move on to what are you doing and playing and stuff. Jared?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Games. Video games. They fun. Well, this is the perfect opportunity to again mention that I only recently discovered the Game Pass. Which even though you said it was going to be a price increase, which kind of sucks, but still is a good deal. Like, if you do it like right now, and I'm not sponsored by Microsoft, though if they're listening, hit me up. It's like $1 for the first month, and then like $5 after that on the PC. I don't know what it is for Xbox, for all the Xbox stuff. I think it's a little bit more. But I mean, it's a really good deal, and I've been playing a lot. I mean, it's great because I can find games, and if I don't like them, I just don't have to play them anymore, and I've only paid $1 that month to play it or whatever. But lately, one of the games that really that stood out to me as being really like you were talking about, again, I keep talking about conversations we had off the show and everything, but work of art, and this game called Spiritfarer is a work of art in my opinion. You're like, how do I even describe it? You're like the boatman in the afterlife, but it's not dark. It's very bright and colorful, and there are sad moments because it does deal with moving on and passing on and stuff, but it does it so brilliantly, and the music is fantastic. And if you've got Game Pass especially, I would say give it a shot. I think it's like available on the Switch and Steam and everything, so whatever your name your poison, you can play it. It's really good. I would compare it to like Bastion and those games like Hades that we were talking about. I dig
the aesthetic for sure.
Yeah, and it's really cool, and I've been really... I haven't finished it. Like I said, I just don't have a lot of time these days, unfortunately, to get through games like I used to, but it's really, really cool.
So are you, like, housing souls on your boat?
Yeah, you've got a boat, and you can build... It kind of reminds me of, like Fallout Shelter in that perspective where you have compartments and you build... But it's a boat, and you build buildings.
Oh, crap. I know we didn't say anything about the Fallout 4 building mechanics, but I'm just going to jump back on that topic really quick.
Okay.
I didn't feel like that was very RPG.
I agree.
So that's probably why we didn't talk about it. Anyway, Go on, Jared.
No,
building on your boat.
Building on your boat. This is... I would not call this an RPG either. But yeah, you... So, like, you're a person, and you... I guess you die. I don't know how else you get to this place, but you start off talking to, like, the cliche, almost sort of rendition of, like, what death is, I guess, or the boatman or whatever, and he's like, oh, good, you're here to take my job. I'm out. You're on your own. Good luck. And you become the new, essentially, the ferrying, souls to move on. And, yeah, you've got a boat, and you build like a house for them, and they kind of hang out with you, and then you do you kind of do story arcing quests for each of these different people that you pick up, these different spirits, and it's just really, it's fascinating. Honestly, like, the music is amazing. Like, I could sit and listen to the music of the game. It's just beautiful. It's art.
Awesome.
Like, really cool. Definitely give it a shot. I need to play more. I want to play more. I just keep telling that to myself so that I actually do it. Actually, I'm going to skip to the other... Oh, actually, no. So the other game that strangely enough, that I've been playing, which is also on Game Pass, and it's an old game, and it's a game that I played years and years and years ago, I think, on the original Xbox. The Bard's Tale. I don't know.
That's by In Exile also.
Yeah. And I don't know what made me want to play it again. I saw it on there and I was like, you know what? I remember really liking this game. So it's one of those situations where, like, I remember it being really great, so I want to go back and see if it's as good as I remember. Yes and no. Like, it's obviously dated. It has not aged well. But it's just fun. I don't know. Maybe it's nostalgia. There's a lot of music in it, because obviously you're a bard. So music is a big aspect, so it's very unique in that regard, because you can, like, summon creatures and stuff using your lute and stuff, and it's interesting because there's actually music in the game that is actual songs. Like there's actually a song, like, in the very beginning of the game where you listen to a bunch of drunks singing it. Beer, 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 tiddly, beer, 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 and it's an actual song that I've actually learned and played when I used to play music for people and stuff, and that's where I first heard it. So maybe it has a special place in my heart. But yeah, I've been playing that, and it's fun. I'm enjoying it. If you've never played it, I would like to say I recommend it, but if you've never played it, it's probably going to be hard for new players just because it's very dated. And the camera perspective is a little weird. It's a top down, but it feels way too close, and you can't zoom out far enough for me.
So what you're saying is try Bard's Tale 4.
I guess,
because I haven't remaster, I think.
I know there's another one, but I've not played it. Because I know that the Bard's Tale that I'm playing is actually a remaster of the Bard's Tale, but there is more games after that, apparently, but I've never played them, so I can't speak to those. And the other game that I've been playing,
2018 is when it came out.
Oh, wow. I remember, I think I've seen it. I think it's also available on the Game Pass. Yeah. But I didn't want to jump into it until I kind of had a refresh on the Bard's Tale from years and years ago. So I might tackle the other one as well once I get to the finishing the Bard's Tale. So who knows when that'll be.
Yeah.
And then finally, the other game that I've been kind of playing around with is Pillars of Eternity.
Whoa, you've been playing that before me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I installed it at one point and then didn't play it. That's how far I got.
Yeah, I've mentioned, like I've been getting into Dungeons and Dragons, like pen and paper, tabletop, the real deal, with some friends of mine. So I've been really into that sort of game, like that traditional RPG. Mm-hmm. Just to echo what we've been talking about in the topic earlier. But yeah, Pillars of Eternity also, because they're coming out with, is it Avowed? Was it?
Yes.
Which is based in that universe.
Yep.
And that looks really cool. But I was like, I want to know more about what that game is before it comes out, so that I'm not completely lost. So yeah, I've actually tried to play Pillars of Eternity ages ago when it first came out, and at the time I wasn't in the mindset for it, or that wasn't what I wanted in a game, and I just didn't play it. Kind of Wasteland 3, like I played it, I probably died, and I was like, screw this, I'm not playing this. I think that's almost exactly what happened back then, but I decided to give it another shot. And it's your typical that type of RPG. I mean, is it really doing anything new for the genre so far? I can't say that it has. But I mean, does it need to? When you're talking about this sort of traditional RPG, you're playing it because it is that traditional.
Well,
RPG.
It's got its own world, its own universe.
No, it does, absolutely, yeah. It does.
Which,
but I mean,
which is its thing. Like, if I were to pick something out of a hat, like, that would be probably the thing for Pillars.
100%. But I mean, as far as like gameplay mechanics and stuff, it's not bringing anything really new. I mean, you've got your people, you've got your skills, and you roll around and you kill things and you get experience and you level up. That's all very familiar. So
yeah, but
that's also comforting. I like that familiarity. I'm not necessarily looking for something that's gonna rock my world or anything.
I want to say I love the resurgence and modernization of these types of games too, like the isometric classic RPG type thing, because man, they're fun, and if they're executed well, which they have been recently, especially, like it's time to jump in if you're considering it. So try Divinity 2, try Wasteland 3.
Yeah, if you're tired of first person shooters like I am, these games are offering some top-notch game, and yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I mean, obviously I've been playing a lot of horror indie stuff for the channel, but I don't mention that as much because that's pretty much what I do every day. So, but those were the main games. Yeah, you know what I'm, you know about that. So that's me. How about you, man? What have you been playing?
Well, I think I want to start with, I played a game's demo called Riftbreaker, and it was surprisingly fun. For what I was seeing, it has twin stick shooter mechanics, but also survival builder type mechanics.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, so I played the demo, and I actually have it on my wish list now because it was quite a bit of fun to actually play. And then think like it goes to builder mode, and then basically tower defense, or defend your resources from absolute Zerg rush from the local fauna. I say fauna, but they're terrifying. Yeah, so that's something I've been keeping my eye on. I had been playing a lot of Neverwinter Nights, kind of. I've been on that kick too, where I've been playing like classic RPGs and stuff like that. Neverwinter Nights still has multiplayer and like module support. Like it still has it on Steam. Wow. It gets regular updates. So Dakuba and I had been playing it a little bit. Got to, I think, chapter 2 or something like that, and then a lot of the big games started dropping, and I was like, well, gotta do something else. So then I started playing Wasteland 3, and you can see, like, even on my channel, how that's turned out. Been some of the best performing videos on my channel for quite a few months, actually. So, obviously, if now I'm at that midpoint where do I do Kingdoms of Amalur stuff, which I really want to do, or do I do Wasteland 3 stuff, which I also like doing, but also have some incomplete information on it. It'll take a lot of work to get that complete information, which makes me start hating things. But it's I'm gonna run Google Trends like once it reaches, you know, like the 10th or whatever, like after both games are out, and then determine what I want to keep doing, I think. Because I put out, I think, five videos past 2 weeks, something like that. I haven't done that. It's more than usual, more than I'm usually used to for this year. And I wasn't sure if I was gonna have to evacuate here in Oregon anyway. So there was like that hovering over me and being like, crap, I gotta work.
Yeah.
That I was also playing real life, if you can believe that. Because I had to go rent a car because we don't have a car normally. So it's just like the backup plan in case we gotta book it out of here.
Jeez.
But this was more just for like just in case. So we just have it parked in the parking lot. Of course, I can do some shopping without using Uber, which is nice. But yeah. Anyway, of course, the other thing I was playing was Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. Playing the remaster. We talked about it in the news already. I really, really enjoy it. I love flashy combat is like a drug to me. Like, I have no other way to describe it. If it's something with ridiculousness in it, and like it's a huge spectacle, especially if you like get those combos off the way you're supposed to. It's just, I'm in bliss. That's how it is for me.
Ooh, shiny.
Like, I want to use some other examples. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance is one of my absolute favorite games in that genre because it's so good.
I don't think I played it.
You can cut anywhere. The awesome. Tech demo was, I will never forget the tech demo where they had like carts of watermelons, and the cut anywhere mechanic was being shown off by slicing the watermelon instead of people.
And you're just drooling.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's beautiful. Imagine if that was people.
Yeah.
Not in real life. We're not freaking psychos. Jeez.
But it's the I mean, there's cyborgs too. So like, you know, most of their bodies are replaced, so you're still just. There was something else I wanted to say about it. Like, everything is high octane, just ridiculousness. It doesn't take itself seriously. Like, I think that's part of what makes them fun for me too. Is like, we're not serious about anything, and that's why we're having so much fun. Like, I have one more thing that I wanted to talk about, which was not a game, but something that gave me that same vibe with the just having fun and also needing something like that in times like these. MC Thunder 2 by Eskimo Callboy. Like, Eskimo Callboy is I want to call them a hardcore parody band.
Okay.
So they have the screaming and the craziness and the metal and stuff like that, but they also have just these really great like synthy parts in like the middle of their songs, or as the like chorus, and they're all really, really energetic. And the most recent MC Thunder 2, aka Dancing Like a Ninja, is just another hilarious music video that they did. They have this obsession with mullets too, like
as they should.
It's so the last few videos I've watched, they've had like mullet wigs on, or maybe they just wear their hair that way. No, probably not.
It's possible. I read something recently that mullets are coming back.
Oh man.
So they might actually be sporting it.
I don't know how I feel about that if they're taking bullets seriously. But it's something I recommend. Like if you need something just high energy and stuff like that. Hypa and MC Thunder 2. Well, that's it. That's all we have for you. If you have things you want to pipe up on, or talk about, or tell us we're wrong about, please leave a comment down below. We like discussing things with you, and you might have a chance of being the comment of the cast. Thank you so very much for listening and getting to the end of this podcast. And thank you, Jared, for joining me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And if I can say before we end things, make sure you all go give Sarge some love. He's not feeling good. Let's wish him well, and hopefully we'll see him next time.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same.
Yeah, it's true. We miss you, Sarge.